A warm welcome to Friday's edition of Primetime News. I'm Michael Madimba. Once more, if it's your first time joining us, do subscribe, hit the like button and be sure to click the bell icon to stay abreast of the latest happenings, locally and internationally. In tonight's lead, we begin with the presidency, where the head of state, Dr. Hage Geingob, says the National Defence Force must maintain absolute combat readiness at all times and be ready for the ever-shifting geopolitical realities and new forms of conflict that have emerged in the post-Cold War era. Erasmus Shalihakwe compiled our first report.
Geingob made these remarks on Thursday during the Namibian Defence Force exercise Khan Strike 2 that took place at Ulunga Wakolondo in the Oshana region. In a statement availed to Nampa, Geingob said even though Namibia is enemy to none and friend to all, as a nation, the country is also aware that the world is defined by the ever-shifting geopolitical realities and new forms of conflict that have emerged in the post-Cold War era. He added, therefore, Namibian soldiers must maintain absolute combat readiness at all times to defend the sovereignty of the country. The head of state noted that Exercise Khan Strike 2 was planned with the aim to enhance joint training and interoperability amongst the Army, Air Force, Navy, and Special Forces by evaluating and testing of combat readiness of equipment, firepower, logistics support in the field, as well as competence of officers and troops in conventional warfare. He also commended the Defence Force for their participation in operations aimed at combating crime and in response to humanitarian disasters in the country. I am Sawi Hausiku, reporting for Nampa News.
Moving on to global climate matters. Namibia will participate in the 26th Conference of Parties, COP26, of the United Nations Framework on Climate Change, scheduled for the 1st to the 12th of November 2021 in Glasgow, United Kingdom.
A media statement issued on Thursday by the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism as a focal agency said the Namibian government endorsed the convention in May 1995 aimed at stabilizing concentration of greenhouse emission in the atmosphere at a level that will prevent man-made interference with the climate system. The statement indicated that COP26 will focus on key issues such as climate finance, carbon market, climate adaptation, mitigation and damage from climate change impacts and capacity building. It said the conference will also serve as a platform to raise ambitions and climate actions by all stakeholders and address issues related to the Sustainable Development Mechanism. It noted that Namibia will be represented at the political level by President Hage Geingob, who will deliver a statement during the high-level segment on the 2nd of November 2021, and the Environment Minister Pohamba Shifeta at the African Ministers Platform on the 12th of November 2021. The technical level includes the Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation, Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Mines and Energy, Ministry of Works and Transport, NamPower and NamWater.
Shifting attention to agriculture. Popular Democratic Movement PDM President Mark Henry Venani says the party is fully behind the idea of removing the veterinary cordon fence red line in order for northern communal farmers to benefit economically.
Venani said this on Thursday during a press conference held here at the party's head office while providing an update on the outcomes of the party recently held policy conference and election review. He said the conference adopted that there is a need for structural removal of the red line with a buffer zone that will be built at the borders of Namibia and Angola, and a fence that will create not only a physical barrier but a fiscal one as well. The PTM leader noted that, however, it should not withhold communal farmers from being absorbed into the economy and be environment friendly. He added that there is a need to conduct an independent land audit in the country because one of the biggest challenges on the land debate is the lack of concrete data which can justify expropriation. Venani also said that because recent statistics by the Namibia Statistics Agency suggest that 70% of agricultural land is owned by white Namibians, whereas the Namibian Agricultural Union put the figure closer to 55%, and the Willem Ottendal report suggested it was only 29% in 2010. He further added that amendments to the legislation should be done to prevent foreigners from acquiring land through dubious means in Namibia.
On to some regional news. Namibia and South Africa flight routes operated by Airlink, a privately owned South African airline, will become the first in Southern Africa to trial the International Air Transport Association, IATA's travel pass, the company announced on Thursday. Xinhua brings us this report.
The trial will be carried out on Airlink's flights between South Africa and Namibia during November 2021. Airlink operates flights from Johannesburg and Cape Town to both Windhoek and Walvis Bay. The Travel Pass is a secure digital smartphone app for passengers to provide accurate information on their COVID-19 health status and access the entry requirements of any countries they intend to visit. The IATA Travel Pass is being developed to support the reopening of borders without quarantine and safely restart international aviation and tourism. According to Forster, during the trials, the pass will confirm pre-departure that passengers meet the COVID-19 test requirements for travel with Airlink on flights between South Africa and Namibia. He stressed that this is a trial and subject to adjustments. Passengers should still carry printed copies of their negative COVID-19 PCR test results on their journey. Reporting for Nampa News, Isabel Bento.
Stand by for your top roundup. In the business and economic segment tonight, we begin locally. Mobile telecoms giant MTC has partnered up with the Business Ethics Network of Africa to promote inclusive and principled business ethics in Namibia through a stakeholder engagement conference slated for the 4th to the 5th of November 2021 in Swakopmund.
The Business Ethics Network of Africa was founded in 1999 to bring together business people on the African continent to share business ethics and stimulate continental economic growth. Speaking at the launch of the conference here on Thursday, MTC Chief Commercial Officer Marvin Hangula explained that MTC's partnership as the main sponsor is to give Namibia an opportunity to host Business Ethics Network of Africa's 20th annual conference aimed at engaging various stakeholders on inclusive and sustainable business practices, particularly in the African continent. At the same event, Business Ethics Network of Africa Advisory Board member Eshka Luwanda said Namibia was chosen to host the conference to give a platform of business guidance, values, and wealth creation to Namibian business owners and stakeholders, especially in today's society facing multiple and acute challenges. The conference, under the theme Inclusive and Principled Business Ethical Values, African Stakeholders, will bring together international stakeholders from the public and private sector and non-profit organizations and academia. The panelists include former South African Public Protector, Professor Thuli Madonsela, Namibia Institute of Corporate Governance Director, Steve Galloway, and Professor Abuwala Agwami of the Lagos Business School.
On to neighboring Angola. Fuel distribution operators in Angola on Thursday called for the liberalization of fuel importation to enable new companies to join the import market, monopolized by the state oil company Sonangol. Xinhua brings us this report. Speaking at the International Conference on Oil, Gas and Renewable Energy, Francisco Aires, CEO of the energy and oil products company Sonangol, said market liberalization is needed for new competitors with investment strategies to enter the local market. Aires said liberalization will allow the entry of other companies as long as there's legislation for operators to obtain a license and operate in a regulated manner. He added that the establishment of sustainable prices monitored by the Regulatory Institute of Petroleum Products would be needed. Ivan Nilson Machado, CEO of the fuel distributor Pumangol, who defended the liberalization of the import of refined fuels, said the price established in Angola is the lowest in the Southern African Development Community region, which encourages fuel smuggling. Machado said they have no way to combat smuggling with the current prices. The CEO further noted that they can talk about a lot of things, and restrict fuel in border areas. But that is not the solution to smuggling, adding that the solution to smuggling is not to encourage prices of less than $1 per litre. It's time for your sports update, but first, the economics roundup and the weather forecast will follow. In tonight's sports lead, we begin with football. UEFA has ordered Union Berlin to close 2 stand sections for their next Europa Conference League home match after visiting Israeli fans suffered anti-Semitic abuse in a recent European game. AFP brings us the full report.
UEFA's disciplinary committee cited racist behavior for the sanction after Union fans subjected visiting Israeli supporters to verbal abuse at the Berlin's Olympic Stadium when the home side beat Maccabi Haifa 3-0 in September. The Berlin club apologized for their fans' behavior. After identifying one of the perpetrators, Union banned him indefinitely and handed the details to the police, who are investigating. Union also applied to the German Football Association to ban the individual from all football stadiums in Germany. 2 sections of Berlin's Olympic Stadium must be empty next Thursday when Union hosts Feyenoord in their next Europa Conference match. The vacant sections will be covered by a banner bearing the words #No to Racism.
Staying with football, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has survived to face Tottenham on Saturday, despite incessant speculation of his future at Manchester United, following their humiliating 5-0 drubbing by Liverpool. Once more, AFP brings us this report.
A club victory for Liverpool at Old Trafford was a new low during Solskjaer's nearly 3 years in charge, but continued a worrying trend for the Red Devils. United have taken just 1 point from the past 12 on offer in the Premier League to fall 8 points off leaders Chelsea after just 9 games. The expected challenge for a first league title since 2013 already looks over, with Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City in menacing form. United's first priority is to ensure they do not become detached from the battle for a top 4 finish. Failure to qualify for the Champions League has been the death knell for previous United managers in recent years, as David Moyes and Louis van Gaal know to their cost. Pogba is suspended for the trip to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium after lasting just 15 minutes against Liverpool as a second-half substitute before being sent off for a wild lunch on Naby Keita. According to reports, there is unrest in the dressing room over Solskjaer's consistent overlooking of players such as Jesse Lingard and Donny van de Beek despite the below-par performances.
Your sports roundup is up next. And with that, we've come to the end of tonight and the week's bulletin. Thank you for making a date with us. If you're new to this channel, please do subscribe, like, share, as well as click on the notifications bell to stay abreast with the latest happenings locally and globally. Do add your comments as well in the comment section. Catch us on Monday next week for another edition of Primetime News. From myself, Michael Madimba, and the entire production crew, have a blessed weekend.